Yay. All right. That's always a bummer when I forget. So if you haven't been able to check out our Let's Talk Business library in the past, just know that all of our Let's Talk Businesses are recorded, and so you'll be able to view all of those episodes on different topics on our website. So among some of our many amazing resources for entrepreneurs is our business plan writing program called BEST. If you're interested in starting your own business, our BEST program might be the program for you. It's an 8-week course with one webinar per week. It is $395 for the entire course. We do have payment plans and some scholarships available. So if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me about those options. You'll also receive a subscription to a business plan application called Live Plan during the course, and that makes it really easy to create a comprehensive and intuitive business plan. So by the time you're finished with your course, you will be able to have a business plan ready to seek funding. The WCWB also offers no-cost coaching, and we have 3 coaches available for you. Myself, I do social media and branding coaching. We have our program director, Sean Moore, who does business startup coaching, and we also have a CPA who does accounting coaching. They're both really amazing. So know that that is also available to you. You can schedule one 1-hour coaching session per week at no cost. So the WCWB is located in the Thurston EDC and Center for Business and Innovation, which is inside the SPSCC Lacey campus. In the Thurston EDC, we have a number of partner organizations that assist entrepreneurs and business owners at various stages and aspects of business. So the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, provides free business counseling to organizations, and they typically work with organizations that have already started or are in early stages of business. The Washington Procurement Technical Assistance Center, also known as PTAC, helps with organizations to contract with city, state, and federal government. So if you have a product or a service that you think that you can sell to the government, PTAC can help you pursue those contracts. We also offer a SCORE mentorship program, and this is typically retired business individuals that offer free mentorships to assist entrepreneurs and business owners in earlier stages of business. And just like seen in Shark Tank, we have our own version of Shark Tank called Think, which is a group of local 40 investors looking to invest in local Washington businesses. Just like on Shark Tank, you would pitch your business idea, and then they will return with some pretty difficult questions. And they're typically looking for businesses that are look like they have high growth potential. And then located in the St. Martin's campus is the Lacey Makerspace. Lacey Makerspace is like an inventor's workshop. You can create prototypes, or if you're just looking to get creative and use the tools that they have, that's an option as well. You can check out the Lacey Makerspace website to view their membership plans. If you're interested in pursuing more of the resources that the WCWB has to offer, please feel free to email us at info@wcwb.org, visit our website, check out our calendar. You can even give us a call if you'd like to. And so without further ado, I will introduce to you Yulin Lee. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, so Yulin, you can take it away. Oh, you're muted, Yulin. There we go.
Right. Yeah, so thank you for the intro. I am going to share my screen now. Can you all see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you everyone for the opportunity to be speaking with you today. I'm pretty excited because I love talking about money and finance. And so before I get started, I would love to do just a very quick poll, just so I can get to know you a little bit more. Robin, could you throw out the poll and for everyone to fill out in terms of how long you have been in the business? All right, great, thank you. So quite a few of you are starting new. That's great. And then I see a few that have been in the business for 3 to 5 more years. So thank you for answering that. All right. I'm gonna move on. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna start by just kind of sharing with you some things about me, just so you know who you're talking to. So very quickly, professionally, I graduated with a computer science degree, so I was in high tech as a software engineer for 12 years. And then I followed my passion. I loved real estate investing, and so I followed my passion and got into real estate and became a mortgage advisor. And then along the way, I also expanded my service into wealth management. So I became a financial advisor as well. So I've had a lot of technical financial background. And then about 5 years ago, I decided to become a financial coach because I really wanted to help people from all aspect of money management as opposed to being a financial advisor. It's purely about investing because having been on the other side, I've seen some disconnect between in the investment world and how people deal with money on a day-to-day basis. And so that's how I became a financial coach. And so I wanted to say that as a financial coach, I am also an entrepreneur, a business owner. And so that means that I can relate to you in terms of everything that you're experiencing or have experienced or will be experiencing as a business owner in terms of the challenges sometimes and about how to really grow our business in a sustainable way. And so there are two key components to sustainability. Number one is your passion. And then number two is your finance. So you've got to love what you do. And then the money's also got to be there in order for the business to keep going and then keep growing. And so today I wanted to just focus on your finance piece. And then also just, again, a reminder, I am very happy to answer any questions as I go along. And so feel free to raise your hand and put in the chat, and Robin will also help me read the questions, but feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. And I also will stop along the way as well to check in to make sure if there's any questions that I ask. And then just in general, I'd like this to be kind of a more interactive session, because when I talk about money, I always tell people that I don't want to give a lecture because nobody really want to listen to a lecture on money. But I'm really here to have a conversation with you. All right. So first of all, another quick poll, and then you can just type your answers in the chat. So when you think about money, are you the person generally on the left or on the right? And so you could either type L for, being on the left, or type right, R as being someone who's, when I talk about money or think about finances, this is how I feel. And just very quickly, if you can type that in the chat room so we can all see, that would be very interesting. Both, okay. I see some right, some in the middle. Okay, awesome. All right, great. Somewhere in the middle. Okay, great. Thank you. So the reason I asked that is because, the way that's one thing I also observe is that the way we manage our business finance oftentimes is a reflection of how we manage our personal finance. In other words, for people who are, or have a habit of tracking, budgeting, and measuring in their personal finance, they probably will do similar things in their business, and vice versa. So for people who really don't like to deal with money, like try to really avoid dealing with money issues, they will probably have some kind, the similar behaviors in their business finance as well. And so the reason is very simple, right? Is that in that our behaviors are dictated by our psychology. And so, and that's why before we dive into the nitty gritty of, talking about profitability for your business, I actually wanted to kind of take a step back and say, let's just examine our relationship with money first, because otherwise I just know, and just through observations with my clients and also my own experience, is that at some point our self-sabotage kicks in because of whatever belief systems or emotions that we may have or carrying around us. So to get started, I want to first take you on a journey to help you explore your relationship with money. So just, I want to encourage all of you to kind of open up and play with me a little bit. And so I'm going to ask you a question, and then, take out a pen and piece of paper to just jot down the questions for you. And then I'm also going to break you into breakout rooms. And that way we'll have some time to share, whatever comes up in a smaller group setting. All right. So, okay, so now here's the exercise. Imagine you're going on a coffee date with money. And here are the questions I want you to write down, and so you can kind of discuss in your group. Number one, what does money look like? When you go on a date with money, what does money look like? Is it a man or is it a woman? Or it could be a thing. And how is he or she dressed? And what color shows up? And who showed up to the date first? You or money? And then what did money say to you? And then what did you say to money? So essentially, what is your conversation with money? All right. And then, so that's it. So, take a few minutes, and you don't have to overthink it, but oftentimes these kind of exercise, whatever comes to your mind, the first thing that comes to your mind is what's really inside of you, as opposed to when we overthink it, sometimes then our mind takes over. So, Robin, if you can help to break everyone into maybe a group of 3, and you'll have 10 minutes, and each person gets about 2 to 3 minutes to share the answers to these questions, and then we'll come back and then discuss as a group. Do I need to stop sharing?
Nope, you're all good. I'm just organizing it right now. It'll only take me another 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you guys will go out into breakout rooms. Oh, Deb Hobbs and 360. Oh, okay. Thank you, Deb. Thanks for letting me know. It went to the same room. Okay, perfect. All right, guys. See you soon. Gwen, did you get your invite?
She's muted.
Oh, yep, she got it. Perfect.
Okay, good. So how many people do we have in total?
It looks like 11. I have 5 and 1. Oh wait, sorry, that would be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, 9. But 1 is the same. 2 are the same person. It looks like. So Deb Hobbs is on her computer, but also on the phone. So she's probably using her phone as her audio. We have 8 actual people.
Okay. So then we have like 3, 3, and 4. Oh no, 3, 3, and 2.
We actually, sorry, I did 2 rooms. So we have 4 and
Okay.
5.
Oh,
Yeah.
one more person coming in.
Oh, okay.
Is there a way to assign Terry to one of the rooms?
I just want to let them know what's
Okay.
going on.
Sorry, I had to
Hi,
sorry, I had
Terry.
to take a call. I was on and then I had to take a call and get off. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, so we're actually in breakout rooms right now doing an exercise. So if you want to write down a couple of questions and then I'll shoot you into the breakout room
Okay.
number 1.
Yep.
Ready? Okay, so you're on a coffee date with money. What does money look like? How is he or she dressed? Who showed up first, you or money? What did you say to money? What did money say to you? Did I get them all?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yep.
Terry, you ready? I am going to assign you. All right,
Thanks.
see you soon. So we started at 12:17.
Okay.
And you
Yeah.
said 10 minutes. Okay, so 12:27. I hope they're chatty.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I think with there are quite a few questions, and I find that you know people get taken back by this question, and then but then once you start talking, there's usually like a flood of things that come out, and this is where
Yeah.
you know it becomes very interesting because I just hear so many amazing money stories from different people every time when I do this. You know, and it's so oftentimes it's so telling with you know their relationship with money. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I one time I did this, and this lady said, "Well, it's not a man or a woman; it's a mountain." And then she goes, "And I hate climbing." And then and then it was so interesting because you know as soon as she said it, like her eyes just like, oh, a light bulb went off. Like, no wonder I don't want to deal with money because it's I you know in subconsciously it it's a mountain and I hate climbing. Of course I don't want to deal with anything with money, right? So this is just a really fun exercise that's you know that takes people out of this. Oftentimes they feel like, oh, it's so boring, you know, da, da, da. But you know, this kind of is a fun exercise, but it's also really helped them to really explore their.
Yeah, no, it's really creative. I think it's super fun. I'm going to answer the questions myself.
Yeah, please. Are we going to give them like a 1-minute reminder before the time is up?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right.
Welcome back, guys.
All right. Is everyone back?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay. So how was it? I would love to hear some of your stories. Would anyone like to share whether there's any, was there any aha moments? I'm just going to stop the screen for a little bit. Would anybody like to share their money stories? Did it feel awkward to be talking about it? What was the, what was your experience in doing this exercise?
I didn't feel awkward about it. It just that I never thought really definitely about it. But it is, you know, your belief systems on money come from the foundations of your childhood, you know, and they're taught to us by our parents. You either see it, you hear it, or you experience it, you
Right.
know, and then you form your belief systems based on that. And then when you're stepping into a business, like I was saying to the gals, it's like a leap of faith. You know, you step out with confidence and your pursuit and your intent to create something. But if it's always about the money, you get a lot of worry going with it and things. It's just that I see the great successful business people, they don't worry about the money. It's just a means to an end. It's the greater picture of what they're creating has more of a presence in their mind,
Right,
you know,
right.
first and
So,
foremost, and the money just becomes an aspect of it. Like you know, a pencil and a piece of paper is part of it, and, you know, all the other aspects. It doesn't have the end all be all as the total importance.
Right. And so what was your money conversation? What was your
That's what it
conversation?
was. That's what we were talking about. Was more like that, where our foundations came and our belief systems on the money and what we wanted to pursue.
Okay. So when you went to a coffee shop to meet with money, was money a man or a woman?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I said it depends on where you're going. You know, if we're going to a coffee shop or if we're getting all dressed and gussied out, you know, to go to a fancy restaurant, it depends on where the conversation about money was. You know, because I think the value price of what was there would dictate, okay, do I have enough money or can I just enjoy this? That was my conversation to the gals.
Okay. Thank you. Did anyone else want to share in terms of their date with money and what kind of conversation you had with money? Money as a person, money as an object, money as kind of, you know, what we're trying to do is like personify money, right? What does money represent to you in your mind? Anyone else wanted to share? I see someone was typing. Okay. Female, nice, yellow, money shows up first, and the conversation is, we have a way to go, but we'll keep working until we get there. All right, that's awesome. Okay,
So I'll go ahead and add. I said that money didn't really have a gender, but was dressed kind of formally, even for coffee shop standards, kind of this respectful look. Money showed up first because it's kind of, I don't know, it's always there, I guess. And basically the conversation for me went something like, you know, keep up the work that you've done so far. You need to be more, you need to formalize everything a little bit more than you've done and stretch out onto future financial decision making. And then my comment back was, I need you, but I don't really want you dominating my life. So that's kind of where I went with that set of questions.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, that's actually really good input, right? To realize that we have these mindsets about how money might dominate our life. And so then the real question from there is what can we do to make sure money doesn't dominate our life, and that it really shows up as a tool based on what we want to accomplish, as opposed to being dominated by money. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Mary. Anyone else want to share their stories? I think I saw Ashley was trying to speak earlier. No?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just trying to unmute.
Okay.
So I've done a money date before, and so this is the second time, so I feel like a little less awkward about it. And so it looked dark and decadent, and was there in flowing clothes. And I agree with what I think Mary said, like much more formal than you would typically see like in a coffee shop environment. And she showed up first, and she said, "I've been waiting for you." And in response, I said, "I know I got lost along the way." And I think I've had a really tumultuous relationship with money, but I'm finally getting to a really good place where I feel like I'm learning to harness my own power.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. So I encourage you, and, you know, because of, you know, limited time that we have today, right, is that I encourage all of you to, if you are interested in exploring further with, you know, your relationship with money, is to do this on your own time and really kind of go into that field. But, you know, I think what you want to walk away from it, from this exercise is, you know, look at the comments and the sentences that come out of this story, right? Is that, you know, it's very formal, it's very, you know, it may be very dark. And so if we want to transform our relationship, one of the ways that we can ask ourselves is, how can we turn this formal figure, how can we turn her or him into our best friend? You know, what would it feel like if I have my best friend is money, like best girlfriend that I can call on when I have problems in my life, right? And again, really just seeing money from a different light and different perspective. And that's also part of our ability to at some point to say, I'm not going to be dominated, because we're actually on the equal relationship as opposed, because, you know, if you think about, if we're going to be dominated by something, in a way, there's this imbalance of power that we're seeing, like we're in a smaller figure and there's something else that can dominate us. But if we can level that playing field of power and say, you know, we're equal, we're friends, and we could be really good friends. And so part of that is taking, you know, part of that process is taking that power back. So there's a lot of ways to kind of play and really kind of take your questions and, you know, figure out how can we turn those stories around into a more positive way of looking at money. All right, so great. I hope you'll enjoy this, and but I will move on for now. Wait, it's this one. All right, so you're seeing my share screen again?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you. All right, so again, there's a couple other questions that you can use. Again, I encourage all of you to do these exercises on your own time to really, you know, get to dig a little deeper in terms of your own relationship with your money, because it's important, because it is the foundation of how well you're going to be managing your, whether it's your personal finance or your business finance, right? So here are some of the questions, and again, you can write them down and for you to do on your own time. And again, you know, fill in the blanks. Money is blah, right? And don't overthink the answers. Again, it's just whatever comes out of your head is the answer for you. All right, so I'm going to move on. So I'm going to move on to now moving into like business finance and how we can improve what we do so that we can drive more profitability. Now, before I get started, you know, on that path, I wanted to ask you, like, have you ever experienced moments when you say, where is my next client? Or how am I going to pay my bills next month? Because I know I've had those moments. And when I do, what tends to happen is I get into the cycle of becoming desperate and looking for any way to get a quick cash. And then what happens is that cycle just kind of continues, right? And so our goal is to really get out of this cycle of this being this feast and famine rhythm. And so when I do, you know, I do different workshops all the time. And so there's a workshop that I do called How to Manage Your Cash Flow. And when I do that, one of the first things I have people do is to fill out a spreadsheet with their projected income and expenses for the coming year. Now, a common answer that I get back when we do that is, I would get people to say, well, I don't know how much money I'm going to make next month. So I don't know how to project what's coming in, right? So what that really tells me is that there is, you know, what happens is there's a misalignment start to happen between income and expenses. And so much of our focus usually falls on the, you know, how to generate income quickly. And then, but then we also lose kind of focus on how do we manage our expenses. And so that's part of, you know, how to get out of this feast and famine cycle is to make sure that we align our income and expenses together. So I had one time somebody that said to me, she said, I know that if I can bring in $250,000 in revenue a year, then I'll be set. Like I'll be just set for life. And so I said, oh, great. And so what is your expense ratio? Or, you know, in other words, what is your profit margin for your business? She couldn't answer that for me. And so what that means is that she could be working really hard to bring additional income of 200, you know, when she gets to 250,000 a year. But it could also mean that she will be spending a lot more expenses and in the end, you may end up with not much or the same take home pay, right? And so unless we actually manage income and expenses at the same time. And so what could end up happening is you just work doubly hard but it's really for nothing. And so that's kind of things that we want to avoid is how do we get out of these cycles and make sure that when you work harder and bringing more income, that you actually also translate to having more money to take home. So there's basically 3 steps that that you basically want to focus on. And the first step is to start with what you want. Now, it may sound simple and obvious, but I have found that with many of the clients that I work with, it isn't necessarily the case. And what happens is that they may have plans and goals for specific marketing or sales activities, but what they don't have is specific income goals, right? It's kind of going back to what I said earlier, is that, well, I don't know what I'm going to get next month, right? And so the thinking process is that I'm just like focused on doing the marketing activities, and then hopefully the income will just follow, right? So what happens is it looks like they're doing proactive activity, but as a business, they're actually running from a very reactive mode, because in essence, what they're doing is, I'm going to throw all these things on the wall and see which one sticks. And so whatever I end up with is what I end up with. And so what I like to propose is that to flip the order, right? Let's start with what we want first, and that will dictate the kind of activities that I need to do. So how does that actually work in practice? So first of all, we would set an income goal. Now, this is probably what most people are familiar with, and you can say, okay, well, my income goal for each month is, make up a number, right? Whatever that could be, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, whatever, that is for you. And then once you have that number, what you want to do is you want to break it down into the number of clients and products that translate to. So let's say, I'll just make up a number here. Let's say if your income goal, your gross income goal is $10,000 a month, and you are, I'm a coach, so I'll just use a coach as an example. You are a coach, and for each client that you work with, on the average is $2,000 income. So that means you need to have 5 clients. Okay, so now you actually know how many clients you need to get to hit your $10,000 goal a month, right? So we're now moving from just doing activities, not really knowing or for sure what's coming. We're actually flipping and say, okay, this is what I want. And based on what I want, this translates to how many clients. So we're just getting a little bit more clarity on what we're actually going to shoot for. So now we know 5 clients, then we have to look at the next step, which is, what is your sales conversion ratio? So what that means is, for every person you talk to, for every client that you get, how many people you have to talk to turn into a client. So again, I'm going to make up a number. So let's say your conversion ratio is 10%. And that means you need to talk to 10 people to turn 1 person into a client. So if you know that ratio and you need 5 clients, then that means you need to talk to 50 people per month to get to your 5 clients. And so now the question is, okay, so how do I get to talk to 50 people, right? So then this is actually what's going to dictate what kind of marketing activities you should be doing to get to the 50 people that you need to talk to. And so, by working this, taking step at a time, it really helps you to focus on your marketing activities and sales activities. And then also you actually have a very specific goal that you have in mind that you want to shoot for. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is the take home, what I call the net income or the take home pay. And this is something that a lot of people miss because oftentimes they just solely focus on the the gross income, but net income is actually what really matters, right? Because otherwise, you, like I said earlier, you can be making a lot of money, but then you're spending a lot of money, and then your take-home pay may be the same or maybe even less. And so we want to make sure that we really focus on the take-home pay. And so how do we do that? Well, we can do that by, again, switching the order, right? So instead of saying, I'm making this much, and then these are all the bills that I need to pay, and whatever's left is my take-home pay. If we focus on net income, then what we do is we set a percentage of gross income that we want to take home. So in the example of if your gross income is $10,000, and you can say, well, I want to set 10% of that to be my profit. Then that means you're going to be setting aside $1,000 for your profit before you pay any bills, right? And so you might have a question and say, okay, so how do I know what percentage I set? Is it a 10%? Is it 50%? Is it 30%? My answer to that is it really depends on your business. If you're someone who's starting out and there's a lot of things that you need to build up, then, and if you can, then you might want to take a smaller percentage, like a 10%, to take home, just so that you have more money back to put back into the business to build it up. And as your business grow and you're getting to more of a steady state, then you can take a higher percentage home, because now you've kind of got all of most of the expenses on a rhythm. And so again, that specific percentage really depends on your business, but the idea is the same, that you always put aside your net income first before you pay all the bills. Okay, so that's, first step is setting clear goals for your gross income and then also net income. Okay, now this approach will also help us to prioritize your spending, right? So which will take us to the next step, which is really examining how you're spending your money. And so based on our last step, now we say, okay, we've set aside the money that that's a profit, that's for you to take home. Now what we do is we have this 90% from your gross income left over to pay the bills. So for number one, now you have some boundary in how much money you can spend in your business, because this is the one thing that I find very common in a lot of the small business owners, especially when they're starting, is that they feel like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. And then they put things on credit cards. And then, I've had a lot of clients who, before they know it, they kind of maxed out on their credit card and they're kind of running out of resources, right? And so part of the reason is because they didn't set a boundary for how much they can actually spend. And so this really helps you to create that. And then, let me just go down a little bit. So another typical example that I've seen too is that for business owners who may be thinking, oh, I'm doing fine, I'm paying my bills, I have some money to take home, and that works, until tax season comes and then they get hit with a tax bill. And that's the money that's not the extra money that they have laying around. And so sometimes I've seen people having to put the tax bills on their credit card to pay it off over time. And that also means that you're actually going to be paying interest on the taxes that you have to pay. And so, it's like you're paying double taxes, right? So those are the small things that we need to manage very closely so that we actually can be, again, it's all driving to the profitability of your business. So specifically, when we're talking about managing our finances, I usually say, create two buckets, right? Two big buckets. One is the fixed expenses and one is the variable expenses. Now, the fixed expenses are things that you have to pay on the monthly basis, no matter what, whether you're making money or not. And so these things are, if you rent a place, your rent is a fixed expense, right? Your phone bills. And if you have a website, maybe you have website maintenance fees or hosting fees. things that you know, there's a monthly bill that you have to pay no matter what. So getting very clear on that also really helps you to know, like in those months and those times when you say, oh, when is my next client coming in, or I don't know how, if I can actually pay the bills, or I need to manage my expenses. You need to, you know, like what is a minimum I need to have to keep my business running, right? Versus when you don't separate them up, sometimes, you know, the numbers become too overwhelming. So it's really good to know what are the fixed, you know, the bare minimum that you need to have per month to keep your business running. And on the variable cost side, those are the things that you actually have more control over. And so, for example, all of the marketing activities that you do are part of your variable expenses. And, you know, in this day and age, there are so many what I call the shiny objects that we're constantly being bombarded with and being sold to, right? So it's really important to kind of really get clear on what we truly need versus what's nice to have. And so the way to determine that, what you truly need, is going back to looking at your income goals and the activities that you had, you know, set for yourself, and then to match your expenses, your spendings with those specific areas, as opposed to, you know, today you see something that's really cool, I'm going to buy that, you know, maybe a coaching program or maybe a certain sales tool. It really helps us to get more disciplined about our spending. So if you follow this process, you know, consistently, then, you know, we can avoid a lot of the traps of, you know, wasting money. Because I hear a lot from my clients too, is that, oh, I've spent all this money on this and that, and at the end I really, you know, didn't get any results. So at the end it becomes a total waste. So that's, you know, another thing that we wanted to avoid. And then the third step is really about increasing your efficiency, right? We drive efficiency for the purpose of getting more profits from your business. So it's super important that we measure all of the activities, especially marketing activities that we do, so that we can learn over time what works and what doesn't. And, you know, when we didn't have specific goals, right? You know, at the beginning, when I talk about, you know, in the kind of a model where people didn't have specific income goals, it's also really easy to kind of forget about measuring our activities, because in reality, we have nothing to measure against, right? But because now we have clear income goals, then we can also measure our marketing activities to see whether whatever we're doing is actually effective and getting the results that we want. And so that's, you know, one thing that's very, very important. And then the second part is really, you know, I want to say is stay in your lane. And this is another common mistakes that people make. And I am a big offender of that myself. And that is, you know, we often get attracted to and distracted by these shiny objects. And so, you know, we may see so-and-so has been doing this social media marketing or something else that looks good, that works for them, and I want to try that, right? And so, you know, that may be relevant for you and that may not be relevant for you. And also from an income perspective, when we, you know, when we get into this desperate feast and famine crisis cycle, we tend to want to just do anything that will bring us some quick cash flow. And what happens is it distracts us, and it actually increases the cost of doing business. And so we're not getting the efficiency and you know, through our business. So that's why keep, you know, staying in your lane and really focus on what is your priority really help you to start creating process, and through the process you get efficiency out of that. And then that will bring you more profits at the end, you know, as your bottom line. So again, efficiency is a very, very big factor in improving the profitability in your bottom line, and through automations and streamlining your process. So my suggestion for you, you know, to walk away is to really look at how you're running your business today and asking yourself, what are the things that I can automate and that I haven't done it? And then number two, you know, what are some of, you know, how do I streamline, you know, the process? You know, if you're again, I'm just using coach as an example, but it could be for anything else. So for me, like when I take on a client, what is the onboarding process? How can I automate that, for example, right? Whereas, in the past, when I first started, the process is I meet a potential client. They say they want to work with me. I send them a contract, and then they sign it. They send it back to me, and then I send them an invoice. So little things like that, it really takes time away and it really distracting. And so things like that you can streamline. And now I have a very streamlined process where I take on a client, they get a new welcome email, they get sent the contract, they sign it online, and then boom, automatically they get an invoice, they pay. So as much as you can automate the workflow, whatever your workflow is, so that you have more time to actually go out and both, number one, do more sales and marketing, and number two, to do the actual work, like in my case, the actual work of coaching clients. All right. So these are the 3 steps to help you increase your profits. I want to watch my time too. And then, and after that, I also wanted to give you some additional resource. This is a book that was recommended to me by someone that I know. And when I read it, I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I talk about when I teach my clients, is put profit first. And so I highly recommend this book. And he actually goes into more details of teaching you how to set up your accounts, and so that you can do this again on a more automated basis. So I highly recommend, checking out this book. And then lastly, I just want to say that I'm a resource here for you. I have a spreadsheet that I use, like I mentioned in the workshop that I do, a spreadsheet that I use for clients where, to help them to start making projections on revenues and expenses, being in a more proactive role as opposed to tracking them as they happen, right? So we want to actually be controlling the front end of it by doing the revenue projection, and not be afraid to ask for, to feel like, well, I don't know what I can make. It's not about what you can make, it's about what you want to make. And so starting from there and then work your way down. And so I'd be happy to share that spreadsheet. If you're interested, and just email me and I'd be happy to send that to you. All right, so that's the presentation part of my talk today, and I want to open up for Q&As right now. And I'm going to stop. Actually, I'm going to leave this on for a little bit, just so you have my email contact information. And then anyone who has questions, or both just your own questions from your own practice and business, and then questions from the talk today.
So feel free to drop them in the chat and I can read them out, or you can unmute yourself.
No questions? Comments? Okay, so I have a question for you. What are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now in your business? Okay, you really like need versus want. Awesome. Thank you.
This is Ashley. I'm at the point where I have this conceptual idea, which is making jewelry, and I'm having a super duper amazing time creating. And so I'm feeling, and I have a full-time job and a family and all that stuff. So like feeling like I really want to move it forward, and feeling like now is the right time, but feeling essentially overwhelmed by writing the business plan and that the formality piece of it, not because I haven't done anything like that, but just because I just want to create. And I know that the business is part of it. Right.
And, I can totally relate to that, because for me personally, like, I just want to coach client. I don't want to do all the marketing and all the other kind of the business related stuff, right? Even though I know I need to. So I can totally relate to that. So I think to answer your comment and your situation, first of all, I heard Robin mention that there's a resource for creating the business plan. So I totally encourage you to do that. But then beyond that, maybe on the personal level, here's my suggestion. And that is, and it sounds like you still have a full-time job. And so and ask yourself, is this something that you want to do kind of a gradual transition? Meaning you want to keep your full-time job for now. And it also depends on your financial situation, right? Whether you can quit your full-time job and really jump into this full-time, or whether you want to do a more phased approach where you're keeping your job and then kind of start building a business on a smaller scale so that it's, mentally and emotionally, it's not too daunting or scary. But also financially, it's probably, has less impact, right? So that's one way to approach it, is you can build it up by starting small. Now, the income number can be small, but in terms of how you want to run the business, you should still treat it like a real business, right? So you can still go through the discipline of creating a business plan and really thinking about how many pieces of jewelries do I want to sell per month, right? And then also, what would be the additional income that I would like to have from selling my jewelry? So if you can first answer those two questions, then that can also help you, guide you to where do I start, right? So if you say, I'm going to keep my job for, let's say, for the next 3 months or 6 months, again, depends on your specific financial situation, then you can say, okay, for the next 3 months, what would I like to make from selling my jewelries? And I don't know what the price range of your jewelries are. Let's just say you would like to make an extra $500 a month from selling your jewelry, right? And then, so what does that mean? That means you need to sell a certain number of pieces depending on the price range, right? And then you can ask yourself, well, okay, in order to sell these many pieces, how much time is it going to cost me? Or is it going to take me to make those jewelries? And then also, what are my cost of goods for making those jewelries? So, the process is still the same for running a small business and in a big business, but you can start creating the process, but keep the number small so that it's not too daunting, right? So you get yourself into that rhythm, and then once you have that established, you can grow from there. Does that help?
Thank you. That's super helpful, and I appreciate the yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. And again, I offer a complimentary session. So if anyone's interested, again, email me and we can set, half an hour complimentary session. I'd be more than happy to help any of you to brainstorm, if you have similar questions or if you're in a similar situation. So anyone else? Oh, I have a business plan. CFA, okay, pretty well done. I have spoken with customer, but I have to get the machinery to be able to prove myself, and then the customer will come. How do I explain that to investors? Interesting. Okay. I don't understand your business well enough to answer you directly here. Again, I'd be more than happy to get on a call with you, Deb, to, a complimentary 30 minutes. And then that way for me to ask a little bit more question. And then I can, help you brainstorm. Okay. All right. So yeah, and then because it depends on, what do you mean by investor? So yeah, so I want to make sure I understand what you're asking for so I can give you the proper answers. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Anyone else have questions that I can help answer?
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Yulin. That was a really great presentation. If anyone didn't catch Yulin's contact information, please feel free to reach out to me and I can relay that. I will put my email address in the chat.
And actually, I can also put my email address in the chat. And then if you do a save of the chat,
Transcript. Awesome. Thank you
yeah,
so
and then
much.
you'll have my email information.
Well, we hope everyone has a good rest of the afternoon. And again, please feel free to reach out to Yulin if you have more questions about this topic. And the recording will be up and posted by next week. So if you want to rewatch, that will also be an option. So thank you again. And I hope everyone stays safe and enjoys the day. We'll
All
see you
right. Well,
soon.
thank you. Bye-bye.
You